chosen. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And she was purified. So obviously, by default, she is. But you can't really compare her to anybody, right? I mean, you can, but it's like not fair. Do you get what I mean?
I kind of understand. But in Islamic tradition, though, she is considered the best.
Yeah, she's the best of the chosen, yes. Okay, cool. So I read on and I'm saying to myself, why did he choose her? So we go to chapter 19, her chapter, 16 to 21. And it says, and mentioned the book Mary when she withdrew from her family in a place toward the east. And she took in seclusion from them a screen. Then we sent her our spirit. And he appeared to her as a well-proportioned man. He said to her, she said, indeed, I seek refuge, the most merciful, from you, if you should be God-fearing. He said, I'm only a messenger of your Lord to grant you a pure son. She said, how can I have a son if no man has ever touched me and I have not been unchaste? He said, thus it will be, your Lord said, it is easy for me, and we will make him a sign for the people and the mercy from us, and it is in matter already decreed. So already we know he chose her, purified her, she's going to have a pure son. The next verse is going to be 66:12. It says, an example of Mary, the daughter of Aaron, who guarded her chastity, and we breathed into her garment from our spirit, and she believed in the words of her Lord and his scriptures, and was devoutly obedient. So now, just have to ask you a question. What do you call a man that denies his child? What do you call that person?
A deadbeat? I didn't hear what you said.
Well, I'm just saying, so I'm not calling Allah a deadbeat. But
I'm not either, because Allah's not Jesus' dad.
Well, this is the thing, right? We went through the line of reasoning and the hypotheticals that Allah has set. And if he did want a son, all he would have to do is choose from his creation. And when he chose from his creation, he purified this person and gave them a pure son. It says our spirit, and we breathed into her. So she wouldn't have had a child if God himself didn't make her have a child. On top of that, this child doesn't have a father. So I'm asking, he doesn't have an earthly father. So, because it's just not possible for her to have an earthly father, because it's not how he was conceived. She didn't have sex. But she still did have a son. That was already decreed. So then I'm asking you, how would you say that that's not Allah's son? Who would that be?
Because Allah explicitly makes that clear. That's not his son.
Made that Isa is not his son?
Yes, Jesus, Isa, however you want to call him.
So then who created him?
Allah created him.
Allah's the only one that gives life.
Yeah.
So then if Allah created him, and there is no male, he has to be a son. He has to be his son. So whether if he calls him his son or not,
to prove it. He can't prove that Isa is not Allah's son.
Well, I'm trying to get him to understand the
verses. This is prophet loser guy.
No, he's not going to talk. Stop. So yeah, he's not going to get involved in the conversation. He's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, so, shut up.
But I'm just asking, right? How could you prove that it's not Allah's son?
How can I prove it's not Allah's son? What do you mean?
Yeah, ask him to prove.
Yes.
Allah, hey, I'm not talking to you, Howard. Shut up.
I'm talking.
Hey, shut up.
Right, I'm gonna put you in the audience.
Oh, yeah, put his ass in the audience.
Yeah, come on.
Who's,
Put him in the audience. Put him in the audience. Okay. So now, yeah, stop. Don't do that. So how do you prove he's not a son?
What do you mean? How do I prove it? You have to prove he is a son. What do you mean, how do I prove he's not a son? I can prove that he's not because Allah explicitly makes it clear. He says that's not my son. He doesn't have sons. So that's my proof.
You say he doesn't have sons.
It's very clear. He explicitly makes that clear.
Plural.
Son, period. Son, daughter, nothing. He begets, nor was he begotten. Clear.
Yeah, but we're not talking about begetting and begotten.
Sons, there's other Quran verses that say Allah doesn't have a son. You know that.
Yeah, but then in this verse it says if he wanted to have a son, he's giving the hypotheticals. I'm not creating the hypotheticals.
It's an impossible hypothetical.
How is it an impossibility when he's the one setting the conditions?
Because he's showing you how that's not the case.
Exactly. The other word for this is
he's
called
showing you that it's not the case.
Reductio ad absurdum. Look it up.
Do you have verses that make this line of reasoning? So the line of reasoning is in the beginning, 38. How I started. I started at 43:81. If Muhammad is admitting if he did have a son, he'd be worthy of worship. Then again, he's saying if he wanted a child, he would just choose from his creation. 39:4. He chose Mary and purify her over all worlds. So he chose from his creation. He's literally doing the hypothetical.
What's the message?
He's not like the hypothetical now is becoming something he.
Did he break up for anyone else?
Was the one, he says, our spirit, we breathe into her garment. So he's showing all of the possibilities, and now he's making those possibilities come true. Because it is true that Mary did have a son. Mary having a son. Yeah.
So Mary would love this verse. Go to Quran chapter 17:42. You would love this one.
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, read it for me. I'm willing to learn. If this is a bad argument. Yeah, if this is a bad argument, I'm cool with being told it's a bad argument.
So let me show you another reductio ad absurdum. That's how it's called in the Greek. Because
I just want you to respond though, because the hypothetical actually became the story of Jesus in the Quran, or Isa. Sorry, a story of Isa in the Quran. So the hypothetical is the reality of Isa bin Maryam.
Okay, now here's another.
He did choose from his creation, and then he did blow his spirit into Mary. He is the one who creates life, right? You're saying even if Isa was granted permission, it's only permission by Allah. So even when Isa blew the life into the bird, right? You're still saying that was Allah. Allah is the only one who gives life. So then it makes sense if he put a life in Mary, then, and there's no male, then he must be the reason why he's alive, correct? And she gave birth then.
I understand.
So the hypothetical is an actual thing that happens.
So I understand what you're bringing, but I could, for example, redirect you to a verse, but I would not do this.
Give me verses.
Yeah. So I could redirect you to a verse that's explicit, and it clearly says that God doesn't have a son, and that Jesus, he's not like the son of God. But I would rather go to another passage and show you something else. Okay. So here's a verse. I'm gonna read it. Tell me what you understand. In chapter 17. I'm going to start with 41. We have explained in this Quran in various ways that they may remember, but it only adds to their rebellion. Say, if there were other gods with him, as they say, they would have sought a way to the Lord of the throne. be he glorified. He is exalted far above what they say. So that's an interesting perspective, right? And there's another passage.
Can you read that again?
Yeah, I could read this again. We have explained. Okay, say if there were other gods with him, as they say, they would have sought a way to the Lord of the throne. So, basically he's saying if there was other gods other than God, they would have fought each other to try to be the ruler of the heavens and the earth, in a sense.
It's made up. That's not real. Two
Yeah,
guys.
I could show you another passage. I could show you another passage.
I'm not sure how, that's, I like that
It
verse.
makes sense, actually. It makes a lot of sense. You're saying people can disagree.
Yeah.
There's
It does make sense. There's only one absolute.
Exactly.
That is correct. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's something
So
that's
but you do realize, right? Saying that one God created another God is not what we're saying here. We're talking about Allah having a son.
Yeah, so
Obviously, obviously
how
would
does
not
that
be-
work? Tell me how does
Because it
that
couldn't
work?
be. First of all, we know that God is not biological. So obviously, right, biology in and of itself is out of the question. This is the reason why.
Does your son
When he
share the
does
same
things-
essence? Explain this to me.
Well, that's
You said it
Yes,
yourself.
he does. Yes,
Wait,
he
wait,
does.
wait.
Okay,
No,
so
no,
you're
listen,
so,
stop
so
smiling,
a son
stop.
of
No,
God
don't
would
answer
be a
him.
God of
Don't
himself.
answer.
Wait,
Don't
I
answer.
mean,
Don't answer him.
Define
Don't
son.
answer. Don't answer smiling.
What is son? What is
Don't
a
answer
son?
smiling. Don't answer
Gotcha.
smiling. So I'm asking you. In the first verse, it states that Muhammad would worship him, so he is worthy of worship. Now, I'm not exactly sure what Muhammad is agreeing by saying that, but he obviously would be of the same essence of his father, not as a separate God, but as God himself. So, I'm not saying that it is a separate God. That's not what I'm saying. He wouldn't be a separate God. He would be of the essence of God. Because he's not telling Muhammad to commit shirk. He's not telling his own prophet to his people to show him violating his own principles. He's still following the same principle. And he's not committing shirk. Because the son would be worthy of worship. So we're not talking anything about Christianity or Christian thought. We're talking in the theology of Islam. Islam, Allah is saying, say. And Muhammad is responding. He's not going to tell his own prophet to violate him. So yeah,
Gotcha.
he would be
let me
worthy
read
of
to you
worship.
this one.
Now,
Let's,
the nature of the son, the nature of the son, I can't exactly explain that to you because that's not what's in the text. But I will tell you that he didn't violate any of Allah's rules, and he was still worthy of worship.
Okay, I want to read you now
So that
another
question
passage that's
you
close
should
to the
answer
one I just read. So
the one you're
we're
saying
building
doesn't
something
contain,
right now, right?
Yeah, but the verse that you gave me does not that would violate the worthy of worshipness, because then he's still worshiping Allah. So he's not talking about creating a different God of him. That would be obvious. His son is worthy of worship, meaning that his son isn't another God.
Yeah, so that's the metaphysical
that verse
implication
is-
it would lead
yeah.
to. That's what God is
No,
explaining.
no. You're adding that.
I want to read here something here.
No,
Okay, it's
no,
close to what we just read.
You're
It's
adding
another
that
phrasing of the
because,
same.
No. You're adding that because there's no way he's going to tell Muhammad to admit to believing in another God that's worthy of worship. So
Chapter,
no, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm not taking that as an answer.
No problem.
Right?
Let's read this one.
And
Chapter
that's
22.
violating that first verse. Thank you very much.
Verse
Yes.
21. Or have they taken to themselves gods from the earth who resurrect? If there were in them gods other than God, they would have gone into ruin. So glory be to God, the Lord of the throne, beyond what they allege. He will not be questioned about what he does, but they will be questioned. Or they have taken besides him other gods, say, bring your proof. This is a message for those
that doesn't
with
talk
me,
about the verse.
and a message of those before me. But
That's
most of them do not know the truth.
That's
so
not, has
turn
nothing
away.
to do with the Son. That's nothing to do with the Son and another God.
26.
He's
26.
not creating
And
another
they
God.
say, listen, 26. And they say, the most merciful has taken a son to himself. Be he glorified. They are but honored servants. They never speak before he has spoken. They only act on his command. He knows what is before them and what is behind them, and they do not intercede except for him whom he approves, and they tremble in awe of him.
I love this verse.
Do you listen to this?
No. I love this verse. Give me what verse is that?
So I just read to you. So this is chapter 21. 21. It's easy to remember.
Yeah,
21.
like this is amazing.
So
Yeah,
God
this
is
doesn't
explaining
refute
he
my
doesn't
claim.
have a son. Or
No,
sons.
he said.
He have servants.
No. That's not what he said.
Yeah, that's
Read
what he said.
No, I don't know why you changed why you do that. But read the verse.
What do you think it says, Bart?
What do you think it
21,
says?
21. I'm gonna read it.
21, 26.
Is it
But
21, 21 or 21, 26?
So 21, 21 is this. It's the beautiful context. So from 21, 21, you read till 21, 26.
Okay. Yeah. Every sentence is so short in the Quran, bro.
It's
Why?
it's to
The
the
verses
point.
are short.
It's to the
It's
point.
straight to the point. Compressed meaning.
Yeah, so, and they say, the most
that don't make no
merciful
sense.
has taken a son, exalted is he, rather, they are honored servants. I'm not so sure. I don't know what this means.
So
Why you don't know?
This doesn't refute sonship.
No, but you have to take in consideration many passages. This passage says basically those who call those who say this is a son of God or this is a son of God.
No. So he's saying that the son, if he were to have a son, he's reinterpreting it to be as a servant.
That's the point. There is no
It's
son.
an ontological category change, not an argued one.
basically, Jesus is on his.
This is
servant.
Exactly. Yeah, this is not refuting him having a son. He's saying he would then have a servant. So he would be. It was just a category explanation. Yeah. So he doesn't have sons. He has servants.
Yes.
That's it. There you
Exactly. So this doesn't deny that he doesn't have a son, though. His son is ultimately his servant, though.
go. Yeah, but you need to keep in mind that all the passages at once.
We're not talking about no. If he were to have a son, not sons, not multiple sons, as if we are all Allah's sons and all Allah's servants. That's not what's being said. He's saying if he were to have a son, his son is ultimately his servant. That's it.
Yes.
That doesn't refute the claim of him not having a son.
So what do you think?
This doesn't negate.
Bart, what is a son?
I'm just reading the verse. Listen, I'm reading the verse.
What is a son?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. The son would be worthy of worship and not be violating Allah's laws. So you're gonna have to give me more verses that refute
what the Quran is
what
refuting.
actually happened in the Quran when he was talking about these verses in the beginning.
What it's refuting is the language you guys use, because
mean?
it's the way you guys have used son. You've taken it to an extreme, so it's just rejecting it completely. It's saying those that you're calling son, that you're mistakenly calling like literal sons, they're honored servants. Jesus.
No, not sons. It's son. It's not
Regardless,
sons.
it
Why do you
doesn't
guys
matter.
change?
It doesn't. Okay,
But
doesn't
we
matter.
change in the verse.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for
You know, they always change the argument.
No, it doesn't
Can't
make
be
a
honest.
difference. How does that change my point? How does that change my point? Whoever you're calling a son is an honored servant. That's what the Quran is saying. So stop talking like that. That's all it's saying.
Yeah, but why are you saying sons? It's not son. The verse doesn't say sons. The verse says son.
What, 21, 26?
Yeah, it says son. It doesn't say sons.
Let's see. I remember when I first read the Quran, this one really stood out to me. But it says honored servants in plural, right?
It says servant. Oh, servants.
My translation says servant.
It says merciful has taken a son.
Wait, I'm gonna read it in Arabic just one moment. So.
No, just read it to yourself because because you're just gonna confuse us.
What do you mean? It's just to know
he's gonna love the Quran.
what the word says, man.
He's scared of liking the Quran sound.
وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا سبحانه بل عباد مكرام. Yeah. So so it's just, so the first is waladan, so it's like a son, but it's talking about also many servants. So some people say because different people were called sons of God, right, by certain people. But he's saying basically that the reality is that they are not sons of God. Like they're servants of God whom he mukramun, he have honored, or karama, it's like they're
this is going to be the problem. So I think the reason why this verse actually makes this even more confusing is because this is going to be tension with the 4381. Because if the son, if you're saying 2126 would mean son, merely an honored servant, but if Allah had a son, worship would follow. So the servants never ground worship, but worshiping Allah because of servants would be shirk. But the Quran again isolates this between son equals servant and son equals worship radiant relation, which 4381. So the both of them can't be true.
So okay, so Megatron, you already know the verse, and I don't need to even pull it up, right? The verse in chapter 4, verse 171. It says, "Be exalted is he above having a son." What does that
but that
mean?
doesn't mean, listen to me, that like, so I'm not sure if that's a translation problem, but this is like, all right, that's what I'm saying. You need to put that using logic. That actually doesn't negate that he doesn't have a son. Like logically, it doesn't deduce, like what you're thinking in your head as you're saying the words don't match up to the reality. Because he's exalted enough to have a son, it's just saying he's not good enough to even recognize if he did have a son. He doesn't even care.
No,
Right?
no.
It really doesn't. It doesn't sound like he's saying that he would even admit if he had a son, because it wouldn't matter anyway. Like, I don't know how you want to make sense of that.
Bro, it's you need to be honest with what the Quran is saying here. Like, you know, if you just go on ChatGPT and you just type in this, all the verses where God negates having a son. Bro,
Okay.
you're gonna find like I think more
Very
than 10,
ambiguous.
like 10, 20 passages.
Well, give me them because
read
they're
them.
very
Yeah.
ambiguous.
I can go. Listen,
Yeah,
I will
they're
read
very
them all to you
ambiguous.
if I. Yeah, sure. Let me read
Yeah.
them all. If
Just
I'm gonna
send me
start
the
with
link.
them, that
Just send me the link in the chat.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
put
let's
the
read
link.
them.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then
just
and
put
read
the
them
link
in
in the
Arabic
chat.
first.
So what's
I share my
ambiguous?
links.
All right, what is ambiguous
problem.
about these verses?
Well, you haven't really given me any because 4171 says that he's a highly honored. I don't know. He's the spirit and word of Allah.
No, like the way you read the Bible, those that you call sons of God. God is
No.
saying those are honored servants.
If we're talking about a son, we're talking about one son. Sons of God is the Nephilim.
Okay.
No, we're not talking about sons of God.
Anyone that's a son of God. For example, Jesus says a peacemaker, right? Peacemaker is a son of God. In the Bible, right? Jesus says that. So God is saying, Allah in the Quran is saying, that is an honored servant. That's essentially what it's saying.
Yeah, but then why would Muhammad agree to give him worship?
He doesn't. That's an
He
impossible.
says that.
It's an impossible hypothetical. It's there to emphasize how extremely, never, this is not something that's possible. That's the emphasis of that message.
It's in the doc. I just sent it here. Go look it up.
Well, I don't know. That's why it's just what's weird is that he says one thing, but then he does the other. He's giving he purifies. He purified Mary, and he purified her for what reason? To give her a pure son.
Bart,
I'm gonna start with
Muslim?
It's so weird. He's the one who did it. It was decreed.
How come Muslims aren't confused about this? How come no Muslim will go out of their way to say?
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not saying. No. I'm not saying that Muslims are confused. I'm just saying to myself, normally, when you look at this, you're like, oh well, he's the one who gives life. I mean, he gave a life and put it into this woman, the only woman mentioned in the Quran. I'm saying to myself, this was a decreed thing. It's not you got to remember, it's not like a woman was barren and she couldn't have a child, like Isaac,
Sarah.
like how John the Baptist was, because they still had sex. They have a father. So they had sex. Whether if he put that life in that child has a father. But this person has no father.
Okay, so Megatron, you remember the verse we just read in 21:26, right? That in fact, the ones that were called sons are not sons, they're servants. Now, listen to this one here. In chapter 4, 171, the one you know, it gives many descriptions of Jesus. So it says, do not exaggerate in your religion, do not say about God except the truth. The Messiah, son of Jesus, the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, is the messenger of God, his word that he conveyed to Mary. So messenger, word, spirit from him. So believe in God and his messengers, and do not say Trinity, refrain, it is better for you. God is only one God. So glory be to him that he should have a son.
That's a clear refutation against Christian.
Yeah. And then it says, to him belongs everything in the heavens and the earth, and God is sufficient as a protector. And then look what it says in 72. It says, the Messiah does not disdain to be a servant of God, nor do the favored angels. So the angels and Jesus, the Messiah, they're not arrogant in some way, shape, or form to be his servant.
So he's
not
not
his
a servant.
sons.
So he's not a servant.
Exactly. No, that's a great
He
verse.
is a servant,
That's
therefore.
a great verse.
Wait. Repeat that verse.
Yeah,
That sounds like Isaiah 42.
I don't know necessarily, but yeah. Okay, so it says.
Well, that kind of mimics Isaiah.
So it
42
says.
and 52.
Okay, do not say
That's
Trinity. Refrain is better for you. God is only one God. Glory be to him that he should have a son. To him belongs everything in the heavens and the earth, and God is sufficient as protector. The Messiah does not disdain to be a servant of God. Like, he's not too arrogant to be a servant of God, nor do the favored angels. Whoever disdains his worship is too arrogant, and he will round them up to himself altogether. You see that?
Yeah.
It's
saying
black and white.
Yeah, I mean, I like that verse. I don't really think this is a problem.
Good. I'm happy you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think
same.
some Christians think it's an insult. Like we're diminishing. But the Quran is telling you Jesus himself won't feel any type of way being called a servant of God. That's an honor.
And look at the series of titles he was mentioned as: Word of God, Spirit from him, the Messiah. Right? But not Son of God.
That's fine.
Yeah, servant of God. So yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Can you read? Would you be able to read this translation without the brackets?
I can, yeah.
Can I give it to you from the corpus?
Sure, but if I read it to you, would you, like, what's the purpose? Is it for me to understand or for you to, I don't know, maybe you want, what do you, like, do you want me to give you, like, what it says in the word for word, or?
Well, I could give you the word for word translation without the brackets.
Sure, go ahead.
And
just
actually,
tell me what's the passage, I'll read it, no problem.
It honestly doesn't look like it's going to, like, I don't know. It might confuse it.
Yo, do you see the
So I'll read it. We'll read this together. Let's read this together.
No problem.
Right? Now, don't read the brackets. O people, the book, not commit access in your religion, and not say Allah about Allah except the truth. Only the Messiah, Isa, son, Maryam, a messenger, Allah, of his word, which he conveyed to Maryam, and a spirit from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers, and not say 3. Desist, better for you only Allah, God, one. Glory be to him that he has for him a son. To him, whatever in the heavens and whatever in the earth, and is sufficient Allah, a disposer of affairs, never will disdain the Messiah to be a slave of Allah, and not the angels, the one who are near.
Okay.
كيفك حبيبي Abi Tartarian, welcome. How are you? I'm so happy to be here. What's up with the buttercup? Did you have some drama, some emotional unresolved conflict?
Did you know that she has a son?
She has a son?
Mm-hmm.
Ah! She is a mother.
She's a mother, yeah.
So what's your
Her
point?
son is a faggot.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's horrible.
Astaghfirullah.
What's new? How's your congressman going?
Got a little more work to do, but it's pretty much over. They removed me from the ballot.
No, why?
Insufficient signatures.
Oh, damn it, you're on Clubhouse. You couldn't find so many signatures?
No, it's the girl in Rockford did not get any good signatures. A lot of them were, I think, bullshit. Some of the people who worked for her were submitting just, bullshit signatures.
Mm. Well, at least you tried, I admire you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I spent thousands of dollars. I raised 600, $700 on Clown House, but I personally spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars getting those stupid signatures.
No, you did not.
Yeah, what do you think? Shit, you think things in the real world don't fucking move if there ain't money attached to it? Who are you fucking kidding?
No.
You can sit here
Oh my
and
God,
complain, submit.
You actually did that? That's crazy.
Yeah, well, how the fuck do you think campaigns are free? You think you just sit here on Clown House and fucking twiddle your thumbs? Money doesn't move
Yeah,
around.
I thought that's enough, these days.
Yeah, I mean, you still shop at the grocery store with coupons. Anyways,
Yeah, with coupons.
I forget my audience.
I don't need to pay. I just have the coupons,
Forgot who I'm talking to.
You wish you were a Jew like me, but too bad your dad is a Jew, and not your mom.
Did you keep the donation money?
I think he's away from his phone. Otherwise he
No, we
wouldn't have shut
spent
up.
it. I spent it. I went to Peoria, Illinois, and I got signatures. And I, booked a hotel room, and I got signatures out there. So that money has been spent. Car, fuel, everything. Like, it's all accounted for. But I think we got $90 left in the account. But I'm going to do the write-in candidacy. So the campaign's not technically over because I'm a write-in candidate now. But I'm off the ballot, unfortunately. But I'm still a candidate, technically. But I'm going to pivot in March. I'm going to submit a new candidacy to the Chicago Board of Elections for commissioner. So I'm going to run in a different race starting in March. Politics never ends. It's really obnoxious. Just keeps going. So much work. But there's more I could say about this, but I'm just going to put it on Instagram and avoid repeating myself. Like you.
Shut up. So have you encountered Randy?
No, I think he is off the app.
Did I do anything wrong? Because I didn't do shit.
Yeah, you did. Bye.
What did I do?
Hello?
Bye.
Wow. Assassinated. You're a killer.
Yeah, just like that.
Bye-bye. Don't want you living in my brain for free. Can't take it unless I get paid.
Can't take it anymore. Can't take the syphilis anymore.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, this app, it's so crazy how you can just surrender your identity, surrender your ears to people. And in a way, it's like you become their proxy. And that's why I record it all, because it's like, it's so ridiculous to be here to listen to some of these people. It's so childish. It's so immature. It's so petty. It's so pathetic. I've done so many, amazing things in my life, and to like think that your life is like listening to the people on this app, it's very, very sad. But I feel like...
Wait, are you repeating yourself?
No. I'm saying that I think what I've done is artistic, but I think what other people have done here
Very
is...
artistic, yeah.
It's just hypocritical, which means you're a critic, but not an artist. And if you are just a consumer and not a producer, you truly are the ultimate sucker.
Yeah, but you cannot only have producers and artists around. You need people who are
Consumers.
going to consume. Yeah.
I get it. Consumers can become artists, but the whole thing is, it's
not
better
every consumer is supposed to be an artist.
It's just sellers and buyers, and it's...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are more buyers, than sellers.
See, I'm a seller and a buyer, but not every buyer is a seller, and it's better to be a seller and a
You're a
buyer.
special snowflake. We see it on your brain, your scalp. You know.
Yeah, well, look at my PTR. The camel is a metaphor for one who can go great distances. And really, the emotions is the water of subconscious internal friction. And the camel can go so far and return with absolutely no water in its system and survive. So the whole thing is the ability to go far out. And really, it's about transportation and communication. So, um, hello? I'm also, you'll have
And
to
what
check.
about that black man on the camel? What does that symbolizes?
Can you check out my TikTok? It's John Kitover. I have filmed.
No, I don't have TikTok.
Oh no. Well, anyways, I do,
Sorry.
and I've been recording TikTok for like a week now. Oh, I have so many rooms on, so many clubhouse rooms on TikTok.
Yeah, do you have any success?
Yeah, it's getting views. But the coolest thing is the filter because I'm the Grinch. I'm this green furry thing.
It's perfect for you.
Yeah, because Grinch is kind of like
Maybe you can
a
even
grump.
put a filter so you have a little hair, you know?
Well, yeah, you actually can't tell I'm bald. But the thing that's funny about it is because the Grinch is like a Christmas thing, and I'm kind of grumpy. But I feel like, if people watch this and they're like, dude, this guy John Kidover's hilarious. This is genius. This is really funny, and I've really enjoyed his TikTok. And wow, it's like art because it's like video art, and you only get to live once. So whatever you create is what you create, and then you croak, and then you're just in the history books. So the new history books are on TikTok. The new history books are on YouTube. The new history books are in the palm of your hand on Instagram.
Alright, one time is enough.
Yeah. You don't see, you
Anyway,
don't.
did Randy encounter this profile of yours or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did he say?
Oh, he got very worried, and then they kicked him off a clubhouse.
What?
They kicked him off a clubhouse. I reported him for using the N word.
No, you didn't.
I did. I screenshotted it. It's part of my PTR.
Where?
It might be on a different profile.
This is gonna get
Yeah, my art submission was reporting Randy.
Let me get this deal, bitch. Yeah.
Aesthetically.
Would be a separate doc.
And it's interesting because I think this type of confusion happened in different civilizations. If we grant we're all human beings, we're all, we are aware of angels, and we are aware of all these beings. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, like maybe they had their prophets, they had the people in their time that have encountered such beings, right? And that could have been something, right? That could have been a thing to transform an angel as a deity. And then people just start worshiping the angel, and they call the angel a son of God, right? Whereas in reality, the angel is simply a servant of God, right? So, I'm just saying, like, for me, it's a valid point. It is.
So it purposely wants to override the previous text when it comes to this sort of stuff. So then it knows what the other text is saying, correct?
He's okay.
No, let's just look at it, because then I don't. This is what I mean. Then, like, we shouldn't be arguing then, right, about me believing Jesus is the Son of God when it explicitly says that he is speaking to his Father and the Father is speaking to his Son. So, when we talk about a father-son relationship in the New Testament, it is a real one. It's not a made-up one. It's not anything where it's like saying what the Quran is saying. The Quran is saying, if Isa was a son before, he's nothing but a glorified servant to Allah. But that's for you. That's not for you to take my text and say, oh, now this text overrides that text, but that text is still saying he is the Son of God. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not saying, oh, forget your old text. It's just saying you guys believe that he's not the Son of God, but we do believe that he is the Son of God. So then we shouldn't be fighting about, like, you telling me I'm committing shirk because I'm not a Muslim. I'm a Christian. And in the Christian book, he is the Son of God. You get what I'm trying to say, King? Like, we shouldn't be trying to convince you that Jesus is the Son of God, because in your book he's not.
No,
But in my book he is.
it's about how you understand that. If you
No. But you can't now take your text and interpret it
But
to me.
honestly, I don't have an issue with you saying that. If your understanding
But
is,
that's what my text says.
I know, if your understanding is he's an honored servant, God sent him, he's close to God, yeah, okay, fine, if that's how you want to use that terminology. But the Quran is completely saying stop talking like that, because you're confusing yourselves and everyone.
Yeah.
So
So the
No,
idea
it's
was
saying to the reader of the Quran that they shouldn't talk like that. It's not telling you to tell the Christian not to talk like that. Where does it say?
Telling everyone, including
Who's
the pagans,
everyone?
including the pagan Arabs.
I'm not a pagan Arab.
I know,
I'm the people of the book.
because even they used to associate angels as daughters of God and other.
That has nothing to do with Christianity, though.
It's all in the same category, though.
No, you can't put me in. I'm not a pagan from fucking Arabia. You can't say that to me. Yeah, I'm the people of the book. I'm
not saying
I'm
you're
the Christian closest to you
I'm not
guys.
saying you're pagan. So I'm saying that understanding of
I'm
God
the Christian
having,
in your book closest to you.
God
Your
having,
God and my God is one.
I'm saying the Quran is just shutting down that terminology, so it doesn't confuse
For you, for the Quran
for
reader.
everyone.
No, I don't have the Quran in my book.
So it's like you would have to see servant of God as, let's say, the entry level. And then the verse we just read before, it says servant mukarama.
You know what's funny? I just
who
think
is
of
blessed.
hanging out with Arban. Like, I think it because I've hung out with I have so many Albanian friends, right?
Okay.
Hung out with Albanian friends and they were Muslim, and I never knew they were Muslim. Never knew they were Muslim. They dated girls that had crosses, like, had rosary beads tattooed to them, right? They never I've ever heard them even care to ever have a conversation about their girl or the woman or the mother of their children believing or saying that she's a man worshiper. Never in my life. The conversation never came up because he didn't believe that, but she did.
Yeah,
But they got along. Like, it was never like, oh my God, I can't be your friend.
Some culture and
They were in
people
love.
are situated in a geographical location where there's more mixed, like more diversity, right? Christians and Muslim living side by side for like centuries. So you would find
these people have families together. That's what I'm
yeah,
trying to
but
tell you.
it's not haram.
So
like
these
in the
topics
Quran,
never come up.
you can marry a
I'm
woman
asking
from
you,
the
though.
people of the book. But yeah.
No. Forget about your rules. I'm talking about what actually is out there and is done.
It's the
You
same in
don't see
Lebanon.
people.
Go to Lebanon, you'll see the
Well,
same
I have
thing.
Christian
Yes.
friends. I
That's-
don't argue with them about God. Like,
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so then we should never be arguing about whether Jesus is God, whether if he's the Son of God, because obviously to you he's not the Son of God, and like I'm okay with you saying Isa's not the Son of God. Like, perfect. Isa is not the Son of God. In your rules, if Allah did have a son, even if it looks like Isa is his son, he's just a glorified servant.
Yeah.
Which you want to know something? Like, if that's what you call him, Isaiah 42, Isaiah 52, all these Isaiah verses actually make sense to you guys. You guys can actually use Isaiah and some of the shit in the New Testament that says he's a servant of God.
Yeah, it's not a new idea.
Yeah, those verses would pertain to you. They wouldn't be, I don't think they're not supposed to be used to negate my belief, though. That's the thing. You could say, yes, these verses fit with the Quran, but they're not meant for a polemic to say, your book is wrong because your book agrees with my book, so the other verses must be wrong. That's not how I'm thinking that you're supposed to be taking the text. You're supposed to be taking what you're saying. Oh, if it pertains to the Quran, then yeah, it makes sense. But those other verses, those aren't for us. That's for you. Like, I think that should be the attitude, right? Right, King? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
The problem is when you guys call Jesus.
Why is that? I don't have a problem.
No, I'll just tell you
I have no problem with that.
When you guys call Jesus Son of God, you're referring to him actually being the same.
See what I'm saying? Like, no. But King. Did you just listen to what the
I listened to what you said. So Megatron, what you said actually is it's a smart point. You know, it's not how can I say this? It's not contrary to like the understanding necessary. Like it's okay. It's great actually to read a book that literally talks about like the Messiah and he's a servant of God. Like it approves what's in the Quran. I agree.
Yeah.
Now the thing is this, right?
So why turn around and say to me, because I'm still taking those verses, right, along with the verses that it came with, right? And it's still saying what I'm saying. You're taking parts of what it says to say what you're saying. All right. So we're still in agreement.
So imagine.
Why do we have to convince? This is the thing. Yeah. Why do we have to convince each other otherwise? That's the point I'm trying to make, King.
So what I'm trying to make is this, right?
Do you get what I'm trying to say, King?
I know what you're saying, but what I'm going to say is this, right?
All right, cool. Because I'm not trying to be argumentative.
Okay, Megatron, imagine we play a video game together, and we spawn in different areas, right? And we have different truth and different, tools, and we are able to communicate like we're communicating right now. Whatever truth and things that I have built from my side, I have to be not selfish and share it to you and tell you, look, that's exactly how it operates. This is how we should operate in the video game, because look, it works. This is it, man. That's the code, right? That was cracked or given by the elders, whatever. And then you say something similar. I listen, but look, this is what I have. We'll have to kind of make sense of our narrative. But if we're making sense of the narrative, I'm just saying, the conclusion will have to come together and just say, is the understanding of God must be the same, right? That, like, the way we understand who Allah is, whether it's from the side of the Jews, whether it's from the side of the Christians, whether it's from the side of the Muslims, it should be the same. There shouldn't be a difference on the base of our temple, which is God. He's the base of our faith, right? So in my faith, whatever it's within my heart, it's not different than whatever you have in your heart. We're all sons of Adam, right? So the light that I have here, it's the same light that you have there, right? So we're not here to kind of like promote like any type of misconceptions or delusion when it comes to God. So we'll have to be honest. And if you have information on your side that will be helpful to me, man, share it. I want to learn.
So there's a lot of stuff that the Jews saying, that a lot of the verses that are reading, what they say, that I don't like. There's no point in me going into a long diatribe of like explanation with them when they're never going to see it like I did. Like I just accept the fact that they see it a different way. So it's almost like, why can't you guys have that attitude towards the New Testament when it comes to the Isa narrative? You were here all the time. Because you hear the way I engage with Jews, and I know that we say like silly things to each other back and forth. I don't really take what they say as insulting to me though, because we're reading out of the same text. I'm justified by believing the stuff that I believe from the text.
Yeah, and they refused the New Testament, so they could say, for example,
they're supposed to. It wouldn't make sense for them not to accept it, but
for us, I would say this, right? If you would have to compress the gospel account into 3 saints, right? And it's something simple. You need to follow Jesus. You need to follow God, and you need to receive mercy, and you need to receive His forgiveness, and you need to enter paradise, and accomplish your life purpose, right? So if this is the gospel message, I'm gonna say, yeah, I think a Jew must uphold this also, and a Muslim literally uphold the same thing. That's the whole point. So I'm saying from my side, we have something to teach you guys. You guys have probably something to teach us. It's all interconnected, right? But if I'm just saying, if everything would have to collapse and there is just one thing we need to agree upon, I'm just saying it's the understanding of God. Not just understand that God is one, and love your neighbor as yourself. Just this, it should be a non-negotiable understanding. You see what I'm trying to say? So yeah.
Bart, what do you think we're giving you a hard time on as Muslims?
I feel like the fact that you guys can't accept so we're still saying one God, right? We're still saying one God when we talk about the Trinity. So I know that you guys like to use the verses and you like to leave out certain messages from it, which probably makes sense to you. I'm like, oh, all right, it makes sense to you that Jesus is this, is this person, right? That says it, that's in your book, right? But if I keep reading the text and I'm following the whole book, it's going to say what I'm saying. To say that my book doesn't say it when I'm showing you it does, like the conversation we had the other day with this guy, the guy in the room that got kicked out, which I wish the language was better. He was saying firstborn. He couldn't understand that concept. Even though we showed him that Israel was the firstborn, David was the firstborn, but Jesus was the firstborn of creation, and that all things were made for him, by him, for his authority. That was a different status for firstborn. He couldn't get over that point because it said firstborn. That's the part that I'm starting to that I start to get a little frustrated on, because then do an internal critique, internalize the text, put yourself in the shoes of a Christian, and say, yeah, to the Christian this makes sense. Just like when I speak to the Jew, I could say, yeah, it makes sense, but I don't believe it, but it makes sense, so that you could actually have the conversation about the text instead of always trying to refute the text. That's the one thing, King, that I don't understand about Muslims, is that instead of having a conversation about the text so that you could actually understand what I'm saying and I could understand what you're saying, right? And then we got deeper conversations, right? Because then we're really giving the meaning of the text. Once we engulf it, then we're getting into better conversation. Why always go into the conversation to refute what I'm telling you the text says? That's the question.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Really instead of trying to understand it, you're just sitting back thinking of what to say so that it says what I'm not saying.
I'm gonna tell you why.
I don't get that. Why is that always
so listen. Yeah, it's fair, and I'm gonna tell you why. So try to imagine what I'm trying to say right now. Imagine there's 3 rooms. One is the room of the Jews. One is the room of the Muslims. One is the room of the Christian. I'm gonna say you, on where you were born in the room of the Christian. You had truth, you have understanding, you have a lot of things that are true, right? Same for the Jew, same for the Muslim in their own rooms. If a Muslim will be like in a state in his life where he's, knowledgeable and he have a strong foundation of his understanding and truth, and he's exploring something that's different, like a different room, and he's trying to understand the truth that is within the Christian's hand, or the wisdom, or the, whatever the message is, he's gonna have to put his garment of monotheism. You have to understand this. For us, you could remove, like, if you would have to remove everything, and there is only one thing that's going to stand, it's our understanding of God. So we cannot remove this garment and lower our defense and enter the New Testament. It's impossible. Do you see what I'm trying to say? We need to keep it. And we need to see whatever you're going to present, we need to see it through this lens, or else it's never going to make sense to us. So I'm trying to say this like in a way that's making sense. And the Jew who's going to explore the New Testament, I'm going to say he's going to do the exact same thing. He cannot remove the garment of his understanding that he has about God. It's impossible. So if he enters the New Testament room, he's going to have to keep his clothes. And he's going to understand and read whatever he's going to have to read and understand. So yeah, so that's I don't know if you understand the analogy, but that's the best way I could put it.
But for me, I go into it looking at, is there enough ambiguity where I could arrive at my conclusion? I can definitely understand where you guys get your ideas from, but can you fairly say there's enough ambiguity in the Bible, in the verses I quote, from Jesus speaking, for me to hold the position I hold? That's my main approach.
Yeah. So just like how I strung together those verses,
I can't hear you. Break up.
Like just how I strung those verses.
I disagree with you. I disagree.
Like just how I strung those verses together, and I made it make sense to me. I feel like you guys are doing the same thing.
No. So I'll tell you the difference, and I think we have to be very honest. Objectively speaking, the Quran is just rigidly clear about what it's saying. It just is. It's very clear about its message. It's very explicit. God does not have a son.
So is the Bible. God does have a son.
I disagree with
that. You see. All right. So then I'm lost, bro. Then these conversations can never move past this point. Then, King, you're always gonna go back to this point. Then, like, there's gonna have to be a breakthrough for you, because I can accept the fact that Allah doesn't have a son. Even though I did string up enough verses together that it is the spirit that was in Mary. And he doesn't want to call him his son, that's fine. But I can still come to the agreement that, yeah, he's not Allah's son. But you can't come to the agreement that Jesus is the Son of God when he's literally the Son of God. Do you think that's fair?
No.
For me to be fair to you, but you're not going to be fair.
Why is it important?
That's crazy.
Why is it so important? Is it because Son of God in Christianity means...
It's because it says so.
No. Does it mean he's the same essence? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yes. So if we go to the verse yesterday that this guy said, right? Colossians 1:15 through 18. Look how this reads, because this doesn't read like it's from... This doesn't read like you would read this from the Quran. So you can't take this like He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead. That is everything he might be permitted. Or how do you say that word?
No, I get what you're saying. So I'm not going to dispute the Bible holds Jesus to high status, right? But what I'm saying is, when I go
preeminent.
Okay.
So yeah, preeminent. So basically, everything he might be. Yeah. So he is before everything. Right. Before creation, he was the one all things were made for.
Okay. So when I go in to Jesus' words again, I like to focus on what Jesus said, right? When I go there,
and I just ignored that whole thing.
I'm not ignoring. I agree with you. Okay, the Bible holds Jesus to a very high status. I agree. I don't think it equates him to the Father. I still don't think it does.
No, he's not the Father.
Right.
He can't be the Father.
Okay.
He is the Son.
Okay, so but the Father is the highest power, right, in the Bible.
When the Father creates, he does it through the Son. That's what he's saying.
Okay. So again, Bart, all I'm saying is there's enough ambiguity. It's
not a shared power. It's how God does things. But when he does things, he does it through his Son. That's what he's saying.
Right. The Son is like a tool used to like.
The Son is the way he communicates with the world. So what we're saying to the Jews is, right? This is what we're saying to the Jews. We're saying to the Jews, every time they read that scroll, right? And it's God creating, that's Christ. That's Christ speaking in the Torah, in the Tanakh. It's him in his full glory. Right? There's still a Father. We're not denying the Father. We're saying, though, that the Son is the one who's speaking the visible. He is the visible, and he is the visible God. He is the one the prophet spoke to. He is the one authoring the Torah. He is the Word of God. The Word of God is the Son of God. Right? Through the Father. The Father's always involved. He's always there. The Father and the Spirit are always there. They're always present. They are one. That's it. There's it's not saying that one is higher than the other. No, there is no one higher than the other. That doesn't make sense to say that.
But when you're praying,
they are one.
Okay, Bart. When you're praying, right?
Pray to the Father.
So you're praying to the Father.
Correct.
Okay. So you're making some kind of distinction there.
Yes, there's a distinction. Yes. You know why? Because Christ made it known to us that the Father is God.
Gotcha.
Right? But the one revealing it to us is God.
Yeah.
Through his Son.
Okay, so is the Father Jesus?
The Father cannot be Jesus because we cannot see the Father.
Okay. We
can only see God through the Son.
So you have a different view, because I've heard Christians say the Father is Jesus. So.
No, that's not possible. That's
the ambiguity I'm talking about.
Yeah. So ignore those people. You should ignore those people. I'm literally all right. So the reason why I'm telling me, right, with my position, the reason why I'm telling you with the authority that I'm telling you, and you know what? People don't have to agree with me, but at least I'm coming to you, right, with a tradition with 1.2 billion people that hold to these traditions for the last 17,000 years, 1750 years, 1800 years, like consistently having this belief, taking the blood and body of Christ on a daily basis. It happens every day, all the time, and this is the tradition. This is what we're saying. So, like, I get what those other people are saying, but they probably don't have the same traditions that I hold. And you know what? They have their reasons, but they don't have the same theological background information that I do.
But don't you think that's an important?
I have a deep theological background information that has priests, bishops, papacy, churches all around the world, mission work. We're talking about like hundreds of thousands of people, saints, everything, scholarship, like just stuff all over the world.
I know.
Like ridiculous evidence.
But don't you think that's an important distinction, though?
For them, yeah, I could argue with them all day, right? But I'm only going to be pushing my dogma down their throat. But they're not forced to believe my dogma, and it's not going to hinder on their salvation, right? Because as a Catholic, I'll just say they're ignorant to knowing certain things because their traditions have gone astray, and I'll just say they're falling short. But guess what? They can still be saved because they're justified in their ignorance.
What about Muslims?
That's all I would tell them. Well, you have a doctrine that says it's not possible for Isa to be the son of Allah. So then how could I blame you, right, when you have the text in front of you stating that he can't be the son of Allah? So then I'm going to have to say, well, you know what? If he believes that's his God, right, and that's what his doctrine says to follow, then, who am I to say that, even if you take verses from the Bible and say, oh, look, this is saying what my book is saying. Who am I to say that you can't say that? I'm going to be like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense to you, right?
Bart, based on what you just said, we pray to the same God. We pray to the God that sent Jesus, both of us.
Yeah, so all right. So then what are we really fighting about?
I'm not fighting you guys. I'm not.
No, I'm just saying. Instead of us constantly trying to give the ambiguous verses, why don't you just this is why I wish a Muslim would rewrite like the New Testament in like their way. That'd be fucking great.
I think that would be cool, actually. I agree.
Yo, so Megatron, I'm working on this actually. I could do this, man.
Okay, imagine, you know how I think you guys could do this?
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Would you read a Muslim translation of the Bible? I don't think so.
What do you mean? Why would it be important? Why would it? I would read it just for educational purposes.
Every time it says son, I'm gonna have to say servant.
Oh, that's perfect.
Paying each other the whole weekend, being one rock.
It's a rock, not rock. That's it.
Assalamualaikum.
And so it can limit, the extension that people value, which is the ability to be able to succeed, be able to excel. So, I mean, can you imagine a society in which, everybody is equal? By that logic, basically, if everybody's completely equal, then realistically no one can succeed because somebody has to lose. So.
No, that is not true, Necro. Yeah. That is just like your opinion. When you have two Burger Kings and a McDonald's next to each other, both restaurants increase their sales because of the collective herd psychology and the tide rises all ships. You see, Necro, you have a lack of perspective.
Oh, that was not a made up accent. It's impressive. I have to work on that. But so regarding the working, I mean, success does not have to be at the expense of others. We all succeed. There could be healthy competition or ugly competition. Healthy competition, everybody can succeed. Imagine me, you, and everybody else in the room. Let's say we're hard working, trying to find the first cure, let's say for malaria, something that takes millions of lives every year, or something even more horrendous, something like cancer, and now we're all competing. Now, it happens to be you, Necro. You actually discovered the cure first. Now, me, Tabuk, and others in the room will be a bit sad that we didn't get to get the glory and fame for this. But guess what? When any one of us falls ill, we will actually benefit from your success. So it's a win-win everywhere. Yes, we don't all equally win. You will get the biggest prize here. You get actually Nobel Prize. Now, this will be awarded not based on politics as normally they're awarded, but you will actually should really merit a Nobel Prize, and we'll applaud you for it. Because when Tabuk or somebody else in their family falls ill, they will applaud you because his necro that actually was utilized, his actual invention, his cure, actually now saved somebody's life. So this is a win-win. Now, the next thing that we're competing on is the cure for malaria. Now, I get to find this. Now you go all sad. You spend 5 years of your life working hard and so on. But when next one of you goes around the world and you acquire malaria, you're not going to die. You're not going to die because Matthew saved your life. You actually find the innovation. So it's a win-win again. But we don't win equally, but we're all winning. Because I got the Nobel Prize this time. And it goes on like this. It does not have to be ugly, the competition. The competition could be, yes, we all are aspiring, we all get kick-started. And when I get the Nobel Prize and you got the Nobel Prize, now the book is keen to next time pull his sleeves even harder and work more efficiently to find the next cure. Guess what? He does find it. And then we all also benefit from his cure. And it's a win-win again. But he just happens to win more than us in this case. No, but there's no losers. There's actually no losers. Why does it have to be ugly? Now, that's just in terms of competition, but when it comes to justice, do with the accountability of crimes.
Yeah, I mean, you may not have any issue with that specifically, but to me, like, you've had where the only way that, like, innovation has happened that build modern society basically is where you've had the free market, which has allowed people to decide to where you had it where the only way for people to improve is to be able to compete for the person's dollar, for the consumer's dollar, and this gave everybody the opportunity basically to have work from having the person who made money off of providing something that consumers wanted, and so in many ways it's arguably that the free market is necessary, that that private enterprise is a way for you to have consumer choice, which inevitably means that there's going to always be inequality, or specifically that inequality is something that's going to be a feature of that system.
Yeah, I wish that there was such a thing as a free market. I mean, I think that's just, unfortunately, it's a deception and phrase. There isn't such a thing as free market normally. I mean, I'm not an advocate of capitalism or communism. I think both of one-dimensional philosophies that have caused massive horrors and terror in the planet, both of them, because there's nothing free about either of them. Now, one of them appeals to this idea of decentralizing everything, and so that everybody now can go and grab whatever they can. Capitalism. The other one is centralizing everything where it's common to everyone. Then you get equal so-called disposition, irrespective of merit or otherwise, as communism. Now, these are the main drives of them. Their main focus is just the material so-called disposition, or how it is done either through the hands of the few or the hands of many. But everything else gets to be now rewritten in the shadow of this. Human rights are abused at will because they're not the focus of the system.
Or we don't even have to go. We don't have to go to the free market, really. I mean, essentially, you take like any sort of sport. It's like you have it where specifically everybody benefits from seeing their favorite teams play and compete specifically. But also the nature of that system basically is that somebody uses the game basically. And if you take away that system, it's essentially it's not a win-win. It's a lose-lose because everybody loses in that system.
Yeah, but that system is already, there's not so everybody wins. It's actually, let's take a sports team, let's say call it whatever it is, basketball or football or whatever it may be. And these are two teams competing to show their skill. Now, there's not necessarily a loss. It's just you never had it. Never had it in the first place. You got beaten by the better team. What did you lose? You didn't lose anything. Now, what you could do is go to the gym next time, and you could actually train much harder, or recruit the better talent, or cultivate better talent. I don't think talent is necessarily always inborn, but yeah, you could. But there's not necessarily a loss. It's the better team won. What did you lose? You didn't lose anything. You put your skills and match them against the skills of another, and the skills of the other outwitted your skills, and so that there's not a loss here. It's just a reality now. It's just being portrayed. That's if it's the game normally is played on so-called professionalism. Most of these games, sadly, are at least there's an aspect of luck involved. You can see in all of these sports, there's an issue of luck involved, particularly these kind of team sports.
So they didn't lose, so they're a last winner, is what you're saying?
I'm saying no, their skills were exposed, that their skills were lessened. This is what's really happening in the game. They two matching teams, 11 players on either side. They are there not to win or gain. They're there to show the prowess of their skills relative to another. Now, when they scored losing the game, the skills, they haven't lost anything they never possessed before. They've never lost anything in real terms. Yeah, it's said that they lost the game. But in reality, their skills were less of a match than the skills of the other team. Realistically, the other team was better organized. It actually happened to score more goals or more whatever points than their team. Their team did not lose. Their team was just eclipsed. There was nothing that the team did not have or had, and they lost it.
But it's still zero sum, basically. I mean, it's like you still lost, basically. I mean, you can blame you not having a skill, but I mean, you still lost, pretty much.
Yeah, if you want to call it that way, that they lost in just the colloquial terms, but in reality, they didn't lose anything. What happened is that their skills, as I said to you, just were shown not to be a match for the skills of another team. That's the reality of it. So we could say colloquially they lost the game, but in real terms they didn't lose anything. They just were like surpassed by the other team.
Okay, but they still lost.
Colloquially, yes.
Yeah. So it's zero sum is my point really is that, but it's still like, I mean, it's a system that, people who enjoy the game, that they benefit from, and you may have one side that loses, but it's like, if you take it away from them, the competition, essentially everybody loses.
Yeah, going back to the notion of competition could be healthy or could be ugly. The world we live in is ugly competition. Sadly, a competition monopoly. There is no such thing as a free market and so on. This is all a lie. Hocus pocus. What happens to be like in capitalist systems, you fat cats, they get to manipulate everything and monopolize it, and they do it through scheming ways. Anything from controlling the politics of the country to putting puppet governments in place to now stealing the resources of literally emphasis, stealing the resources of a country. There's nothing free about it. You're not going to be out there served by your wits and your merits. So you might have the brightest idea, the best product out there, and so on. Certain companies, what they could do, just buy you off. That's one element. Other element is that they could literally get the politicians not to give you license to actually develop your business. You will put forward a proposition for a license to conduct the business, and it will be turned down based on discretion. Because some of the politics out there, they're not people representing the public. They represent corporations who are themselves criminal. That's what usually happens in so-called capitalist system.
Yeah. Well, I can agree with that. Simply that the system we have is where basically that the government, since it's being bribed by corporations, has created zero-sum games, while in the free market, I mean, you actually can, in functionality, have, or ideally it's meant to be understood as a, positive sum game specifically, or non-zero sum game, because, the ideal is that basically if I, want to, have, steak while the other person, and I make potatoes while the other person wants potatoes while they were the ones who raised cattle, then, we both trade, because I value the steak more than I value potatoes, and, he trades his steak with my potatoes, because he values my steak more, or my potatoes more than he values his meat. So we both win, basically, is ideally in that sort of exchange. Well, if the government decides to bail out a corporation, you have the government deciding who's the winner at the expense of everybody else, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Governments need to look at them. Anyway, let's say salam to the book and others. The book, do you have anything to comment on this? I'm actually quite curious about your position as an atheist. What's your position regarding so-called justice and morals and global rule and governments and so on?
What is your position, Ya Mahdi? Stop asking me questions. You never answer questions. You just ask questions. I want to hear an opinion or a position you have once before I die.
I thought you probably heard my position already if you're in the room for a while. I'm a person who doesn't believe.
No, all you do is criticize like leftists. You never say what do you have. Are you criticizing? Okay, there are two things.
Brother,
are you criticizing from a philosopher? Are you criticizing from a philosophical point of view, like we're in an agnostic room, or we're just criticizing the concept of justice, huh?
Brother,
or you're criticizing from a Muslim point of view?
Theoretical. How are you using this word philosophical point of view?
Habibi. Okay. The concept of justice is definitely a debatable one. It's a synthetic proposition. There is no global universal agreement on it. We can sit and take off our hats and say, this is what Mill thought, this is what Rawls thought, this is what Hobbes thought, this is what Plato, Aristotle thought, etc. And what do you think, But you are coming saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, qala Allah azza. And you're coming from position of the Quran and the truth and Allah and Islam knows what is justice, okay, right? Or am I wrong?
You're wrong and you're right. Let me explain something. I'll tell you why you're wrong and you're right. Okay? You're wrong because, first of all, it's not just a philosophical perspective. This is a universal problem. And actually, there are axioms to this. That means inherent qualities to this notion of justice. By the way, 90% of the world.
Yeah, but normal humans. Normal humans, not Muslims. وين يا مهدي؟ لا انت صار لك ساعتين تتكلم يا ابن الحلال. يا ابوي بالله عليك صار لك ساعتين تتكلم. أنا شوف normal humans, non-religious Muslims, I mean by normal humans, are not certain of anything. Okay, they're always curious, asking questions, trying to improve, etc. You are the certain guy. Okay, so you know the truth. Okay, so you tell me the truth. What is justice, ya Mahdi? And Allah.
Okay, so now that requires you now to mute up for about 2 minutes at least to give you the headlines. But I suspect you're not serious about the question you asked me. But if you are, I expect you for 2 minutes. You will not speak, and then I'll give you the mic for 5, and I'll only go to the headline. Okay.
Sam, ya akhi, I'll give you 2.5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, 2.5. Shukran. Then I'll give you 5.5. I'll give you the talk back. See, you know, as Muslims, when somebody greets you, greet them with an equal or better greeting. I'm going to do the better greeting.
Ya akhi, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So let me respond to your question in about within 2 minutes, inshallah. So first and foremost, as a Muslim, I don't know everything. That's the first issue I want to highlight. But as a Muslim, there are certain things I know. No, I suspect. I know. There are certain things I'm confident about. There are certain things I have so-called belief on. There are certain things I do not know. There are lots of things I'm curious about, and I get to these critically, objectively. I don't get to investigate them, man. Or the elites have said, or the overall.
We can talk about what we do know about the files as they are being released. And believe me when I tell you, there's no way, even though all the files have not been released, for us to know everything that's there. They were just released exactly 1 hour ago. Raid, welcome to the stage. And there's just, it's voluminous. There's so much to go through. So let me just recap some of my early observations that I made in the main chat, which is linked above, to which you are invited to join and participate before, during, and after the room. The initial view of the files shows that girls as young as 14 were recruited for grooming, either as receivers of massages or purveyors of massages. They were groomed by Ghislaine Maxwell. Somebody who's also looked at the a little bit of the files that have been released says that it may have been as young as 12. As I mentioned, not all the documents have been released. The White House says there is no smoking gun pointed at the president in the documents. Earlier today, the president quite uncharacteristically declined to answer reporters' questions about the files this afternoon before they were actually released. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee are speaking out. Ro Khanna is threatening prosecution of anyone, including potentially the Attorney General, if there is any tampering of the documents. Now, why is this being raised? Well, the Justice Department is technically a violation of the law for missing today's deadline to release all of the files. They say that more files will be released in the ensuing weeks. Now, notably, all doesn't really mean all. The law allows for some exceptions, such as matters of national security, items that, if released, could impede any ongoing criminal investigation. And I just want to underscore that. Ongoing criminal investigation, which we don't know if there are any. So I think one of the things we should do as consumers of this information is to watch for excessive redactions. Also, we should look for, and I don't know whether any of this is included, financial records that indicate who profited financially from this extensive child sex trafficking rate. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, in addition to claiming that perhaps members of the administration may be in violation of the law, are also discussing going to court to force compliance of the requirement to release all the files by today's deadline. Now, if you remember, with regard to this, in her Vanity Fair article, Susan said that Pam Bondi, her word now, was whiffed. That she whiffed on this up until now, and it appears today that that whiffing continues. And I would guess in that regard, something else for us to watch is how will Trump's MAGA base react to the failure of the Justice Department to release all files today, because as we know, this is a major issue with his MAGA base. He was breaking from his base by not releasing all the files. So, and I say he because it's his Justice Department. And presumably, it would be just incredible to believe that the White House, the president, is unaware of what is contained in those files. Now, he may not know every specific item, but certainly he would have been briefed on basically what's in the files. what names are there? Are there names of friends of his? Are there names of political enemies of him? How often is he named in the file, even though, as the White House says, there may be no smoking gun that indicates that he did anything illegal or untoward in his long relationship with Epstein? Of course his name is going to pop up. They were best buds at one time until they had a falling out over a real estate deal in Florida. So I think that's where we are today, although I say this with the caveat that as the hour goes through, that we may all get alerts on our phones from one news agency or another saying, oh, look what we just read in the files. And so, or you may see something, if those of you who are watching it, it's all there when it was released today on a webpage. You can just click on the link and go to it. It's not so hard to find. I'm really interested in seeing what you see in this. And I'm also, to the last question that I raised, I'm really interested to hear what MAGA folks are in the audience who prior to the election pushed for the full disclosure of what was in this file, how they feel about the fact that the Justice Department did not comply with the order to release them all, with the exception of those issues that I mentioned before, national security and ongoing criminal investigations. And by the way, with regard to that, how do we know that what's been redacted really applies to national security or criminal investigations, or of course, identification of the victims? That goes without saying. That ought not to be released. We should not know who the victims are. But unless the victims come forward and speak out, that's a different story. I think everybody would agree nobody wants to put these now women through the trauma of being identified if they desire to not be identified. And so I don't think anybody thinks otherwise. Any reasonable person would think otherwise. So with that, I will open it up to you. Your thoughts on this issue. I think I've given a good synopsis of where we stand as of 5:07 p.m. local time. 7 minutes after they were actually released, which doesn't give us a lot of time to delve into it with any degree of specificity. I would also, before I turn it over to you guys, no messages, guys. No messages. I do not answer messages while monitoring. I would invite you today, tonight, over the weekend, to if you learn of things that are there that we don't get to today, go to the chat and share what you learned. Okay, so I'll stop calling people in the audience. I see them on the stage. And today that order begins with Marshall, followed by Scott.
Santa baby, oh my little Santa baby, strike the master chord, draw the flaming sword. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Merry Christmas. Take a deepest breath of the day and hold for 10 seconds, 10, not 11, 10, not 9, hold, 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 let it go, 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 go.
The most blatant about trying to ignore what Congress and the courts actually said.
Was under capture that momentous occasion and the photographs are released to the public so the public is aware of what the president has done. Great success signing this bill or this executive order. In this case, there were no photographs that have been publicly released. This is something that was kind of a loss for the president, in spite of the fact that he campaigned on it because he didn't really want to release it. And so, in the context of that, it appears that the question of the day is a fair one to ask because it was with reticence that he signed the law. What if he just said, okay, when it comes to this person, that person, the other person who may be named in the files, I don't want that released. Say it's under the guise of security or ongoing criminal investigation, but I don't want these people's names released. I'm not saying that he did this, but if he did, or even if he didn't, the fact that all of the files were not released as law required is a violation of the law. If you are violating the law, there are penalties, criminal or civil. I don't know that there are any penalties here for non-compliance. Who would be held accountable? What stop at the Oval Office? At Justice? At the Attorney General's desk? I don't know the answer to this. But are you frustrated by the fact that if there is no compliance, there may not actually be a way to force compliance?
Yeah, Gary. I mean, this is a sort of kind of quirk of the system, or bug feature that you're saying. I mean, like, if the president is accountable, when the president breaks the law, the only recourse we really have is impeachment. Right? I mean, that's it. Right? I mean, the Justice Department has said we don't indict certain presidents, right? Because the president just say, say don't, cease and desist from indictment. So, is there anything before the president breaks the law? The only thing we have is a political solution. And if you don't have the votes, the president is in some sense accountable to no one unless politically you have the votes to impeach and remove them. And then once impeach and remove them, they're subject to criminal prosecution or anything else. But ultimately, the president is above the law in this country unless you have the political capital to win an impeachment. Other than that, the president is impeached. I don't know what can be done outside that. So there, I mean, on that front, that's the constitutional remedy, which basically, it's so hard to get a conviction, especially in a partisan age. I mean, so functionally, the president in these days, in this day and age, is above the law. Well, that. Gary, why Trump is doing it, why Trump is doing it is, not releasing the full files. It's because he's protecting the Democrats. He has said that Epstein is a Democrat problem. This wasn't a Republican thing. It was all Democrats. It was groups like Larry Summers and all these Democrats. It was a Democrat problem. It's the Democrats. So now, we've seen maybe this is the Christmas season. Maybe it's a religious conversion. Maybe he said recently that he wants to go to heaven. Maybe he's not sure he can get there. So maybe now what we have is he attempts to follow the rules of Jesus, to love his enemies. He said, I did bad to my enemies. But now he's changing his tune. He's obviously trying to protect his friends, the Democrats. Because we know it's only the Democrats who are implicated. So he must be covering up for the Democratic malfeasance, much to what surprise of this Republican loyalist and MAGA crew. I mean, Trump is in the tank for the Democrats. And I want to know how my MAGA friends feel when they see Trump running to the defense of three people who are Democrats, running around on sex island. That's who Trump defends. Liberal sex island hopper. So, yeah, I mean, that can be the only solution. The only answer to be down, he said, is only Democrats. So,
And so, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if we have any of our friends here who are Trump supporters and devotees, what their opinion will be. But Gary, that's my story, my friend, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I know you say that a little bit facetiously, but you're actually absolutely in your facetiousness that the president has said that this is a Democratic issue and not a Republican issue, as if sexual impropriety is a partisan issue. By the way, if you ever wanted to see what Bill Clinton looks like in a bathing suit, some of the photographs show him lounging in the hot tub and in the pool. And I don't know whether that's at the island or in Palm Beach or at his home in New York City. I don't know whether the home in New York City had such wonderful amenities. And one of the things that's very interesting, as I understand it, about all these photographs is there's no context given to them. They're just, it's a dump of material with no context. And so it leaves it to the viewer's imagination. The photographs that I'm looking at right now of the former president do not show him doing anything untoward, do not show him engaging with any underage individuals. However, in the background of one of the photographs, whoever that person is, they blacked it out. So that's the kind of redaction that they would do to protect someone, perhaps at that point underage person, but it does not necessarily imply that that underage person was forced to engage in sexual activities with anyone, much less the former president. But I just wanted to toss that out. We do have, and you can find it online right now, photographs of Bill Clinton in a bathing suit, with Jeffrey Epstein in a bathing suit next to him, or in close proximity to him. All right, as more stuff comes to light during the ensuing gathering here today, I will bring you breaking news, because that's my job, ladies and gentlemen, to bring you breaking news such as this. And also, as I do, the words of Norm kind of ring in my ear, because he believes all of this is salacious in nature, that we are all as a nation engaging in rumor mongering. We are wagging our tongues over something that has not been proven, other than the activities of Maxwell. Mister, your microphone's stuck on. Thank you. The convictions of Epstein and Maxwell. Other than that, nobody has been charged, much less convicted of anything. So I will ask myself, or ask ourselves collectively, are we engaging in salacious rumoring, gossip mongering, or is this really a matter of such national import and in the public interest as we claim that it is? Something for us to just self-evaluate. Howard, followed by Ben.
Yeah, hey Gary. I thought Marshall pretty much summed it up pretty well. Question for you: how many documents is it? The hundreds of thousands have been released today?
I don't know the exact number. All I know is that they say it's a trove, a huge number, and there's more to come.
But from an accountability point of view, someone has to explain why wasn't everything else that should have been released by the deadline. I think that's a fair question. As it relates to what you just talked about, that's an example, I believe. I mean, there are real victims here. There are people who've been convicted, including Jeffrey Epstein himself. Real crimes happened. people's lives have forever been changed. So for someone to just think it's salacious, that just shows you how limited one's critical thinking skills may be. And I'll leave it there, Gary. Thanks.
Thank you, and I'll get the number. I'll find that because I'm sure it's been published somewhere. Thank you, Howard. Ben, followed by Hermes.
Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. As somebody who I'll say straight up that I voted for Trump in the last election. I'll say this: anyone found guilty in a court of law of sex crimes, especially those against minors, should experience the full weight of the law. Obviously, right? I think we can all agree on that. Those present on the stage in the audience, everybody, we can all agree on that simple fact. I think my explanation for this entire thing, to answer your title of the room, do I think that he's necessarily covering anything up? I don't necessarily think so. I think based on what I've read, and admittedly, I haven't seen every single piece of evidence. Obviously, with these new files dropping, it's hard to stay on top of literally every single piece of evidence. My general gut feeling of this entire thing was Donald Trump was somebody who values above all his personal image, right? He has literal buildings with his name on those buildings. Like, he is so incredibly worried about his image. I think he's somewhat aware of the fact that, or he certainly thinks that certain things will tarnish his name, other things won't. I think hanging out with actresses and actors and that kind of thing, or rubbing shoulders with certain people, I think he doesn't worry about will tarnish his image. And I think hanging out with pedophiles is something that he is worried about will tarnish his image, right? So I think he spent a lot of time with Epstein, and I either wasn't aware that he was a pedophile or turned a blind eye to it. And then once it became an issue, you obviously saw him kick him out of Mar-a-Lago, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's my general feelings towards this thing is I think Trump is worried that his name is going to get smeared with this guy and associated with him in much the same way that I think if Bill Clinton, or even Hillary Clinton to some degree, but certainly Bill Clinton was to, and obviously I know that he's very old, but if Bill Clinton was to run for a public office right now, I think that his image is very much tarnished by this stuff. So I personally think that, again, if Trump's guilty of anything, I'm more than happy to watch him hang for it, metaphorically speaking, in the sense of doing his time or whatever. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Pedophiles are whatever. No issue with that whatsoever. It just, his actions don't necessarily strike me as somebody who's trying to cover up anything, but more to just simply protect the Trump brand. I think that that's more important to him than literally anything else.
How do you reconcile that fact that, and to answer, asking you this question, I will I'll answer Howard's. There are hundreds of thousands, according to the government, that's the terminology that they use, of documents released. Hundreds of thousands. Clearly, those hundreds of thousands of documents are not all about Trump. So why would he been so concerned about releasing all of that, especially if, in fact, the White House is pointing at the president? You still hold that he's protecting all of these other people's images because that's necessary in order to protect his own? Is that basically your argument?
I think that his name is littered throughout this thing because I think that Jeffrey Epstein was somebody who clearly loved to rub shoulders with prominent people. And you can say, oh, he did it to, get people on board for, to engage with these young girls or whatever the motive may have been. And I bet you, if I was a betting man, I would say that Trump's name is littered throughout these entire documents. But I also, again, if I'm proven wrong, then I'm more than happy to recant this. I think that Trump just doesn't want that stuff out there because he just doesn't want his name to get tarnished. And I think at this point, he's just kind of like, I saw a tone and a shift in the past few weeks with the president in regard to these documents, in the sense that I feel like he was a lot more reluctant in the beginning because, again, I just don't think he wants his name tarnished. I don't think he's trying to protect Democrats. I don't think he's trying to protect Republicans. I think it's literally all about his name and his image, and he just doesn't want this thing to drag out and drag out and drag out into the midterms, et cetera, et cetera. And above all, not necessarily that he cares that much about the midterms, but again, it's all about protecting the Trump name, the Trump brand. I think I really do think that that's all he cares about.
Thank you for that, Ben. Marshall, did you want to interject?
All I was simply going to say was, I think I agree with that. I think I agree with that take that he is overly worried about his own image, and that I think if we look back at both his life as a TV personality and his first term as president, we see somebody extremely worried about their own brand in ways that are not always helpful for the country or healthy for the country. But I really kind of jive with that he wants to protect his own image. I've never thought to myself, God, he diddled little kids. I haven't seen any evidence to substantiate that. I know other people that think he did, but I really do think protecting his own image, being selfish.
Your microphone cut out. It shows that it's open, but we're not hearing you, Marshall. I want to try again, Marshall. No, your microphone, your audio cut out completely there. I just want to direct people's attention to a couple of comments in the main chat, which is linked above. Yasi writes, I'm skipping through it at the moment. Insane redactions, and it's voluminous. And that's followed by a comment from William, in which he actually offers to us a screenshot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines in which the only thing that is not redacted is Donald Trump is, the next line, the 2 lines down most, 2 lines down innocent. Oh, this is funny. I thought it was real. Now I realize as I read it,
it's not real.
It's not real. But it is funny. I really thought you had screenshotted something that was heavily redacted. Thank you, Ben, and we'll now go to, I'm gullible, Raid, followed by Double.
Hey, Gary, I'm looking right now at the Department of Justice website, and I'm searching for terms like receipts, invoices, pictures, and it is an incredible data dump. This is the information that was taken during his first trial. There's a lot of risque photos even. I don't think that they even know exactly how much information they've released, meaning that there are telephone numbers and photographs that have never been seen. Jeffrey Epstein photographed his entire life. These are all Kodak photos. What's on the CDs? Nobody actually prints photos anymore, but Jeffrey was obsessed with filming his life. And you could say many vain, egotistical people do that. And it's a little bit like Nixon and recording all the conversations, which ended up getting you in trouble. And this data dump, and you have to get in line on the website, and then you can go in and search for whatever term you want. But if you just type in pictures, you are going to see things that you can't believe. Very powerful people. It's unbelievable. And we're talking about like the microfiche, the small photos, and hundreds of pages. It is so much information, and it's such an in-depth look into his lifestyle, his activities. Again, this was all the information seized by the police and the FBI that was returned. And so you can't believe, I'm looking at things right now that you can't believe, like chateaus and castles. We're talking about the most luxurious lifestyle and quite a bunch of photographs. So it's unbelievable, the volume. You have to, the link is on drudgereport.com if you want to search it. And I'm having a lot of fun looking at this right now. So you can't believe the photos in here. And I'm
are there any people that you could recognize? And I don't suggest that any of them are breaking any laws or anything like that. But are there photos of some people whose names we would
Well,
recognize immediately?
Richard Branson and Bill Gates are the two wealthiest, and Prince Andrew, obviously. But there's tons of photos with Ghislaine. And again, Ghislaine is in jail for sex trafficking. Who did she sex traffic these girls to? It's in the photos. It's obvious. But Dan Bongino is stepping down. No arrests will be made. But this data dump, there are pages that are completely redacted where it's just huge black blocks. So even in the photographs with the microfiche, there's all kinds of black boxes, which is unbelievable. What's the point of blurring out everybody except for Jeffrey? So there's so much information that's withheld, but nonetheless, this is a real treasure trove for investigators, and people are obsessed with this case because of the domestic espionage implications. Photos with Ehud Barak, photos with Noam Chomsky, and naked girls with their panties on. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. But the islands, the luxury, the chateaus, the wealth, it's unbelievable what they've released.
And as I pointed out earlier, follow the money. This is the thing I learned very early in my journalistic career. I mean, very early. I was taught by two auditors, one a CPA, how to follow the money. That's how you prove or disprove an allegation when a story is brought to you as an investigative reporter. And you're talking about such opulence on display here. The question is, who funded that? Who was paid what for what? What was his means of income, Jeffrey Epstein? What did he do? Was he selling tiddlywinks? Was he, did he have a manufacturing plant? Did he build cars? Did he do what Elon Musk is doing? Did he have rocket ships that go out into space?
He was blackmailing.
Even to Mars in the future?
Wexner.
What did he do to amass all this wealth? Where did the money come from?
His number.
And why was that money handed over in the first place?
His number one score was Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret and other major brands. And the fact is that these Bill Gates photographs mean that he was blackmailing him. And there is, actual confirmed blackmail. But the photographs of the girls in lingerie, anyways, but Bill Gates, there's multiple photos that have been released of Bill Gates with what looks like underage girls. And again, Ghislaine is in prison for sex trafficking women to rich men who she diddled around with Jeff. So the question is, will Bill Gates be arrested? I think his arrest is imminent. And that's why he's releasing book club videos of him smiling with his books saying, hey, if you want to read a book this Christmas, here's my selection. He has to create content to try to distract from this. This is so damning. Multiple photos of Bill Gates with different women set up for him by Ghislaine and Jeff.
Very interesting. You mentioned Dan Bongino. I never really followed him very closely. I saw him when he was, popping up on Fox, those kinds of appearances. But I never followed his podcast. But I suspect the new year will bring a new podcast. And that podcast, given the fact that he was the deputy director of the FBI and was the main person in the administration pushing for transparency vis-a-vis Jeffrey Epstein, I'm betting that his podcast is going to be well worth all of our attention. That's my prediction. Double followed by...
Yeah, it's the timing of Dan, and just you could see earlier in the year when they did the clown show of the files don't exist or he killed himself and whatever, and the squirming. They pretty much didn't let Dan talk in front of the cameras after that interview, because he's just not he's not like a born liar, right? He's not a psychopath. He had a mission going in. He promised everyone very full throat. It's like, I don't know why if Trump's plan was to cover up Epstein from the beginning, why would he ever appoint Dan Bongino? Is like, you know, maybe they just didn't.
And thank you for correcting me. Bongino, I think I mispronounced his name, and I apologize.
Yeah. But like, I guess it's sort of like the left hand and the right hand didn't know what each other, like Trump didn't want to bring it up maybe to his other staff to be like, oh, well, we're going to cover up Epstein, so don't pick these people. You know, I think there was a certain momentum, and it probably was one of those like, oh, we'll figure it out later, and everyone's loyal, so we're good. And in fairness, even despite all this, Dan Bongino still showed incredible loyalty given who he is and what the circumstances. So we'll see what happens, but you know, he's got to feel horrible. Oh, I'll go on mute while Marshall interrupts.
I was just going to say Dan Bongino didn't do jack for the FBI. There was a report done by the Judiciary Committees in both the House and the Senate, and they found that people like Bongino and like the FBI director were way more interested in social media than in guiding the department, which I just found hilarious.
But maybe double your response to that, not to put words in your mouth, is that's your point, right? That he wasn't given the opportunity to act in a manner that the deputy director of the FBI normally would.
Yeah,
well,
I think that's part of my point. Yeah.
I think he chose to act like that, though. I don't think the Trump administration forced him to worry about social media. The report I mentioned said that he and the FBI director were overly concerned about it. They spent their time focusing on social media rather than the real needs of the FBI.
Yeah, that's also been I haven't been tuned in. I'll just quickly say, South Park's been lampooning Pete Hegseth for doing the same thing, like producing a lot of content rather than doing actual work. But anyway, sorry.
Well, and two things can both can be true. What you suggested and what Marshall's suggesting, not mutually exclusive necessarily, in my mind anyway. You know, as you were talking, Double, I was thinking about, you know, okay, this was a campaign promise. We're going to get the Epstein files out there. He was speaking to his base. He clearly knows what resonates with his base, and that's what he said. But maybe, as you point out, I would say, to use your description, that it seems to me to be analogous to lock her up. At every rally, when he ran for president the first time, he would interject Hillary Clinton into the discourse, and thousands of people would immediately respond in mass, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. But he didn't. And there was no political fallout for him not locking her up. So perhaps he felt, and tell me how this fits with you, Double, perhaps he felt, I could just say that we're going to get Jeffrey Epstein and release all of these documents, but then I don't have to, because nobody cares what I do once I'm in office.
Yeah, no, it's 100% that. He just figured he can weasel out like he's done so many other things in life. A couple other things I wanted to touch on here, because now it's clear that they are openly defying, or, you know, they're trying to half-ass it, but they're basically in violation of the law that has just been passed. And they're basically saying straight out, yeah, you're not going to get everything. And Thomas Massey was saying Thomas Massey, because there are leakers and there are people that came to him and said, there's a lot of people who had to deal with this material already who, off the record, have basically indicated what kind of stuff they should expect to see. And then if they don't see it, well, then we know. So in a way, we have to credit the administration for being transparent about the fact that they're in violation rather than pretending like, oh, we released everything. and then having this whole, well, actually you did, this whole fight, because it's more just they're being straight up about it. And as someone said, impeachment's the only avenue now, and we have to wait for a new administration or something. But this is just what we're dealing with. And it was pretty clear to me when, okay, there's two other things I want to bring up, and I'll try to be succinct. But when you had this preference cascade in Congress, because you had no one, very few, only the fringe people, including Massey, really wanted to get this stuff released. Neither of the mainstream people from either party wanted this stuff released, and we can get into maybe why. But then there was a preference cascade where everyone's like, oh well, I'm not going to be there was the one guy who opposed, releasing all the info, which is funny, but no one wanted to, once the preference cascade happened, no one wanted to be that guy. And then even Trump flipped from being like, oh, well, yeah, don't, everybody don't do it, to, yes, everybody should sign this bill. But of course, he just made the calculation like, well, yeah, we're just not going to follow it, right? We're going to signal, we're going to play this game, but then we're just not going to do it because there's something he's hiding. But what he's hiding, and my speculation from the beginning, Gary, if you look at so many of the people involved and the level of sophistication and all this stuff, it's pretty clear. And the word that I don't think you've said in this room yet, that always amazes me how it just gets memory hold, is Israel, right? And I think that's the thing that, it's the only thing that lines up for me as to how we've had across multiple administrations. Oh, I'll go on mute while I'm being interrupted.
No, I'm just asking.
Is he in the Matrix? Or is
Yeah, he's having trouble. You're having trouble making the trip there, Marshall. All right, thank you, Double.
Before you interrupt.
I was wondering how long it would take for somebody to interject Israel into this rather than what's actually seen in the documents.
Hey, Gary, have we seen a picture with George Soros yet?
Oh, my God. I don't want to see that. That's something that you can't unsee. Rolf, followed by Mo.
Yeah, I think there's two dimensions to this. One is the political angle, which is Republicans versus Democrat, which I think is actually being overstated because let's not forget, Trump started as a Democrat. Trump has always been a family friend of
You should go on Do Not Disturb, because now that you're getting a phone call, we can't hear you. I'm going to mute Rolf and leave him up on the stage and try to get back to him later. We'll go to Mo, followed by William. By the way, I got distracted by the previous caller's interjection of Israel into the discussion. I wonder how this reflects on the number of the Palestinian babies that were killed. I guess that's the next dots to connect somehow through all of this. There is another level of accountability that probably is soon to come. And William, I think, is an attorney. Merrill is in the legal profession. They can correct me if I'm wrong about this. But if, in fact, the Democratic members of the Oversight Committee go to court to claim that the Justice Department violated the law by not releasing the documents. And if, in fact, the judge directs the U.S. attorneys who are representing the government at that hearing to release those documents forthwith, and those documents are not released forthwith, then you're dealing with an officer of the court who defied a judge's
direction. I don't know whether they are indemnified because it's not them, even though it's their department, but it's those who they are representing in court, or whether under these kind of circumstances, since it's their department that they are representing, when appearing before the judge, if they are not in compliance, does that put them in legal or at least jeopardy with the bar? Are their licenses potentially going to be suspended? And with that in mind, what's their demeanor going to be before the court, and what effect will they have on getting Pam Bondi if that scenario were to occur to comply? There may be some kind of a judgment day coming, and it might go as high as the Attorney General of the United States, whose own legal standing with the bar might be in jeopardy here. I don't know, but it's just, people are talking about accountability, myself included. I'm just wondering out loud about that. I could be way off base. I'm very curious about the answer to those questions. Mo, followed by William.
Hello, guys. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate the room, everyone in here. I just want to answer the question, first and foremost. Is the White House covering up the Epstein files? I think it's pretty in your face that they are. It wouldn't have taken months for Adelita Grijalda to be sworn in her seat. But, when it's a Republican, it can take a lunch, so I think they purposefully tried to stall this as much as they can. And when it comes to some of the legal ramifications that we are talking about here, it's very real, right? Because the DOJ was ordered to release all of the files, but according to Todd Blanche today, we know that they're going to release them on a rolling basis. So either way, I think the Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, the entire Justice Department, really, they might be in some serious legal trouble. I'm not a legal expert. This is just the information that we all have, right? But I think the White House is covering this up. I think it's in your face. And honestly, I've had a little peruse through some of the files that have come out, some of the pictures. And honestly, I'm really shocked. I'm really shocked at how many key celebrities are in these files. We're talking Chris Tucker, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, the former Duchess of York, right? This is insane stuff. But honestly, I think the only thing that the Democrats or even some Republicans whose stomach is turning at the possibility that, this could destroy the administration, right? I think impeachment is the only thing that is really going to I think impeachment is really going to be the only way that this gets through, if that makes sense.
As all these names become revealed, Mo, it makes me wonder, who the fuck was Jeffrey Epstein? He was a financier. We know that. But who amasses all of these A-listers as visitors to his home and properties for parties and such? Who is he that he was able to get Diana Ross to come and be a guest? And all these other people, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Ehud Barak. Who is he, or who was he that he was able to do that?
I think, Marshall, did you want to go? Sorry about that, bro. Did you want to say something?
I had a question for you, and I am driving, and I pay attention to a car, and now I forgot the question.
Pay attention, brother. Pay attention. We don't want you crashing.
Anyway, Mo, what are your thoughts about that? How does he get all these people, in his Rolodex, basically?
Well, I've worked in finance before, don't work in it anymore. But honestly, he had, I'm going to side with the conspiracy theorists here a little bit, right? But he might have been some sort of asset, either for the U.S. or for Israel, because I don't know how someone goes from a school teacher to being a low-level assistant at Bear Stearns when that still existed, to being an options trader, then in 4 years being a limited partner, and then abruptly leaving, creating your own consultancy firm with whatever money you got from being a limited partner, which, you know, at that point in time, I want to say is in the ballpark of $150,000 to $200,000, right? So I don't know how he came to this money. I don't know how he even got into Bear Stearns as a public school teacher, right? There's a lot of questions about his rise to success and where he's got his money from, because when we're conducting a timeline, when we're looking at this bit by bit, there are massive gaping holes, and the only rational explanation for all of this stuff is that he had a backer of some sort, whether it was the government, the U.S. government, the Israeli government, someone, right? Because we have information as relevant as 1980, right? That he had fake passports, Austrian passports under false names. He had multiple passports. He had residences in Saudi Arabia. He was conducting weapon sales between Iran, right, and Israel. In the 1980s, there is a man named Adan Khashoggi, right, no relation to Jamal Khashoggi, right, who verbatim has said, yes, he was one of the people I was working with to get weapons, right, in the Iran-Contra affair. So this is insane.
Yeah, but how does that translate into Diana Ross, for example? I just don't get it.
I think, like, when you got that type of money.
To tell you the truth, my background, and I'm no big luminary, puts me in closer proximity with Diana Ross than somebody that fits the profile that you just related for Jeffrey Epstein. Because we're both from Detroit. I've met her. I've interviewed her. We've had reason for our paths to cross. We're not friends. She wouldn't know who I am or anything like that. But I was in the media in Detroit. My name was known. If I wanted to parlay that, if I were a celebrity collector, I probably could have made an attempt, and I don't know whether I would have been successful. It would have made sense. You could connect the dots. Gary's a reporter in Detroit. He covers Diana Ross, and they became friendly, and they socialized together. Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm only using her as an example because you mentioned her name. What is his alleged relationship to the CIA or MI6 or Mossad have to do with people like that? All these other folks whose names are already popping up as having appeared in all these photographs that were released an hour and a half ago or 2 hours ago now. How does somebody fitting the profile that you just described, I mean, even if, as you are suggesting, some international or government agency or multiple government agencies cultivated him as an asset, how does he get all these people to just come to his house and to his island at the snap of a finger? Who is he to amass these individuals? It doesn't, on the surface, to those of us who are not making $200,000, much less the millions that he made, it's hard for us to really, I think, fathom how that came to be.
Well, we have to look at it like this, right? Jeffrey Epstein, while there's this little gap in the timeline, right? We also have to consider that he, in 1987, right, created a financial consultancy firm. So I've worked with people who have worked for financial consultancy firms, and they travel a lot. They have to meet their clients. Some of their clients are very paranoid. They make a lot of money. They're not going to email you, and they're not going to call you. They're going to have face-to-face meetings, right? So when you're a financial consultant and, you're basically advising people who have money, where does that money come from? Who cares? Sports, entertainment, government contract, it doesn't matter, right? So being a financial advisor, right, being an asset manager, right, I think maybe he was
managing some of their assets or wooing them in order to make their assets.
I think that's where.
That's a logical response to my question. Thank you. Well, that's a good response. William, followed by Merrill.
Hey, Gary, hey, everybody else.
first of all, this has the smell of like a Russian-style compromise operation. That being said, we don't know who put this together, why it was put together, how it was financed, and following the money is a good idea if that can be revealed. I don't know if you remember the parties of the 1980s, but you know they were wild, and they could take place in big mansions or on islands in the Caribbean or a lot of other places. And I think I have not seen any of the actual photographs of that were newly released, and I've only seen these things that were previous released that were in the public record up until now, and that's pretty limited, and some of them look pretty incriminating, but I haven't seen anything newly released. You can have your name appear as being in these files and not necessarily be guilty of diddling some child.
Absolutely true. But as one of our previous callers suggested, Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking, and she had to be trafficking these kids to someone.
Absolutely, and some of them, and the evidence may show, and I haven't seen the evidence, but the evidence may show that some of them are guilty of crimes, or at least deserve to have further investigation for potential criminal activity that is still chargeable under the statutes of limitations, whatever jurisdictions you want to try to charge them. And I don't know.
But you know what? The various government investigative agencies, whether they're state or federal, have had ample opportunity, if in fact there are people who deserve to be charged, to take action, and they haven't. Only
that suggests that they're covering up for somebody. And the whole way that Epstein himself was prosecuted and then first given a sweetheart deal and then prosecuted federally on some other grounds and ends up dead in his prison cell, the whole thing stinks. So, there's...
So let me ask you this, William. Let me ask you this, William, if I may, and I hope this doesn't break your train of thought, but it's in line with what you just said. Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, and without pointing fingers at anyone, because you could just put all of their names up on a board and throw darts, and whichever one it lands in, it'll be that agency. So let's not speculate about what agency or agencies. Let's just say he was some kind of a government asset. And let's say that primarily he was a government asset for the United States of America. And that certain associations he had deserve protection under the question of national security, which in fact this law allows the redaction of any information that could affect national security, which gives rise to the implication anyway that the drafters of that legislation recognized that that was a possibility, that there were national security concerns involving Jeffrey Epstein. Do, in your mind, those potential national security concerns outweigh the responsibility of the government to prosecute somebody for sex trafficking and to prosecute those who participated in that sex trafficking?
Well, first of all, I would have to look at the evidence sort of, on a piece-by-piece basis, to actually see what it shows and see what's going on. And I haven't had that opportunity. However, that's the type of thing that a judge should have the opportunity to weigh. And the fact that people may have been pressured not to prosecute on some vague notions of national security, that is suspect. So the fact that it's been, who are they supposed to turn these documents over to? Congress? Or
The American
I mean, it's
people. The American people. Which
well,
is what
I mean,
they're doing.
directly, or is it going to
Yeah,
the congressional
no,
committee?
directly to the American people. It's online right now. You could go look at it right now. It's all there. At least all that they released today. You could see it just as easily as any member of the Oversight Committee could see it. In fact, the members of the Oversight Committee, they have documents that were provided to them directly by the estate under congressional subpoena, but they're getting the first look at this just like you and I are getting the first look at it right now.
So if somebody is directed to release all documents, and some of them are not released on the basis of some law, some national security law or whatever, they need to produce a detailed sheet, line by line, stating, and I forget what it's called, but stating what's been withheld and the basis for withholding it, so that can be further reviewed. And I haven't looked at the documents, I haven't looked at the links to see what was released and what was not, and I haven't looked to see if any such withholding sheets for any basis have been proffered by the Department of Justice, who was directed to release these things.
Right, but it hasn't come before a court yet. So you're getting ahead of yourself.
But I
here.
mean, the document withholding what was directed to have been released should be made public. It doesn't have to release all the information, but that XYZ was held. It doesn't have to specify it in tremendous detail.
Right. So
good enough detail to identify it, and then the basis for withholding it, the statute, the law, the reason, and there's a type of sheet, I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
That's where it's okay. I understand the process.
Also, as far as having people's bar licenses revoked, the bar licenses are state by state. Sometimes they're in federal jurisdiction, like Guam or DC or something like that. Generally in DC, you already have to have a state license from some other jurisdiction. So, yeah, the people who are disobeying direct court orders do put their law licenses in jeopardy for not obeying court orders. And that is something that's down the line. Rudy Giuliani got disbarred for not obeying court orders. So, there are different levels of consequences. They are not easy proceedings. It's very hard to pull somebody's law license. There has to be pretty good evidence, but, we'll see.
Scott, are you jumping in there? Your mic's open.
Accidental makeup.
That's okay. So, William, let me ask the same question I asked, but pose it a little differently as a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if the United States government was using Jeffrey Epstein, I am not accepting messages while moderating. Do people do this just in order to interrupt the discussion? I think so. Let's just say hypothetically, William, that the United States government, and I'm not alleging this, I'm just asking hypothetically. Let's say hypothetically, the United States government was using Jeffrey Epstein as an asset to gain information and to exert influence on people by putting them in compromising positions, which may be the case here, not saying that it is. Do those national security concerns outweigh the desire or the need for us as a society to prosecute people who were purveyors of sex with underage girls?
It would depend on a case-by-case basis, but the safety mechanism would be those kinds of sheets which would specify
No. I'm sorry, William. There's a yes or a no response to that question, and you may not be prepared to answer it, and nobody's saying that you have to answer it. But I think there's a yes or no answer to that question. If you, I don't think it's case specific. Either it's acceptable in the way we run our government to put people in compromising positions in order to, under the hypothetical, to procure information or to influence them or their governments by using, by blackmailing them with underage
I think I can answer your question. The answer is no. The answer is no, based on the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was already prosecuted and convicted with these types of documents, and it did not present a breach of national security.
Because they never revealed what would have to be revealed if it comes out that such and such government official of such and such nation engaged in sex with a child, and then some consideration was given to the United States for our national security purposes shortly thereafter. That never came out, something like that, in the Maxwell case, but it might come out with in the case of the quote-unquote gentlemen who were purveyors of who she was sex trafficking. Get my...
Yeah, well, I mean, it could come out in further proceedings, and if there were issues of national security, then there are procedures to have special judges rule upon that. But it wasn't a problem in prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell or in initiating the second set of charges.
But the point is that none of those men who defiled these children have been brought to justice. None of them.
Maybe they will be. Maybe they will be, and that doesn't present necessarily national security.
I think you're in Baltimore.
Am I in Baltimore? I'm in Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia, I'm sorry, but that's closer. I invite you to get on the Amtrak and come and see me. I've got a bridge for you. I'm going to sell you that bridge at a discount. I'll give you the title to the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'll sell you a bridge. I'll sell you the Ben Franklin or the Walt Whitman. Take your bridge.
You should have told me. You should have told me that you were going to sell me the bridge that collapsed. But okay, thank you, William. Abby, followed by David.
Okay, so I'm actually going to help you. I'm actually going to. I had other stuff to say, but I'm gonna answer your question because we have a standard in our court system, which is a compelling state interest, and it's a very, very specific legal standard based on our Constitution that requires our government to show an extremely important, an essential, unbelievable national security or public health interest that would justify infringing on a fundamental right or pass any kind of right or potentially a criminal action that would have to go to what we say the highest level of judicial review and strict scrutiny.
But Abby, may I just interject by asking you this then? And that is, but it has to come before the court in the first place.
Yes, but I'm saying, answering your question, answer your question, there is a mechanism within our government when there is a national security compelling state interest that will pass a test in our court system. I was going to go through the prongs of the test, but it may not be necessary for me to go through all the prongs and tell you it and what the strict scrutiny is. But when it is of a national security level, we actually have had this happen in our nation. We've had rulings in our Supreme Court regarding it, and we have allowed rights and issues like you're raising to rights to definitely be infringed in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our nation.
Right. So I get that.
I'm answering you that way. That's my answer to it.
Right. I get that.